There's a change happening in the way we live, the way we work, the way we spend our money and make our decisions. We are evolving to be more conscious in our actions in a way that serves the world and makes it a better place. Welcome to the Ethical Evolution. The Ethical Evolution podcast is brought to you by Ethical Change Agency. I'm Bindi, I'm the founder, and my mission is to help ethical entrepreneurs and holistic healers to find their voice through spiritual coaching and podcasting. I'm honoured to bring you the stories of those who create change through healing, kindness, innovation, purpose, and spirit. Understanding that to create collective change, we need to be the change. It all begins with us. Lacey C Clark aka Ms. Phenomenal Everywhere, is the multifaceted personification of expressive art, rich culture, soulful global travel, and fierce femininity who inspires the masses. She inspires women of all backgrounds to stay true to self. Her beliefs in self-love and empowerment are reflected in her thriving brands, Phenomenally You, Phenomenal Everywhere, and Sisters Sanctuary. Collectively, the brands impact the world by providing inspirational messages laced with self-esteem boosting content. In our conversation, Lacey and I discovered the media has a lot to answer for when it comes to women, that we need to take true care of ourselves and give ourselves space to breathe. I hope you enjoyed connecting with Lacey as much as I did. Welcome, Lacey, to the Ethical Evolution.
Hi, Bindi. Thank you for having me.
Now, I'm super excited to have you with me, Ms. Phenomenal Everywhere. Please tell us who you are and what you do.
My name is Lacey C Clark, exclamation point. And I'm a creative empowerment personality. I'm also an actress, a writer. So I kind of, they call it multifaceted, but for the most part, my mission. So no matter how I come to my mission is about self-love and personal empowerment, specifically for women and girls.
Love it, love it, love it. Now tell me more about the apostrophe that you have, the exclamation mark that you have at the, God, I got mixed up there for a second with my English. Exclamation mark at the end of your name.
Thank you for asking that. It's so funny because it's always an interesting story to share. I was in college and my late roommate, she passed away. My late roommate, back in the day, there was no internet. So you had to find a way to stand out via paper. And so we were actually trying to, craft a creative resume when I was in college. And it was what way can I stand out that kind of impersonates or encapsulates my personality? It's you're really, really passionate and you're dynamic. And it's you should put an explanation point after your name. And I was let's do it. So at that point, it was a way to, capture attention. But also I think it definitely highlights kind of what I'm about, which is passion and excitement and liberation. So the exclamation point really is all of that to me.
Yeah, maybe I should adopt that because I absolutely love that concept of exclamation marks everywhere.
Yeah, right. It's excitement. It's yes.
Yeah. It's almost like yelling at people, but not.
Right. But making sure that you're there. And I'm also, again, I studied as an actress and a theater person. So, definitely was really important to stand out in that way too.
So tell us a bit about, the work that you do, particularly with young women that are starting out in college and trying to find their feet.
Oh, good question. So I've been doing personal empowerment work for young women for over 20 years. And I've done it with various audiences. Right now, the audience that I have a brand new product for is college and college-bound girls. And the product is called Phenomenally You. And the intention of the product is to support young women in transition, making a healthy transition from high school to college, from girlhood to womanhood. Because as you know, that's a really major transition that I believe does not have enough support around it. It prepares them socially and emotionally. So of course, you may have a really smart daughter and she may be really, great in certain experiences, but when it comes down to those dynamics on campus, when you're talking about peer pressure and relationships and sexuality and all those things that come up as you transition from that girlhood or being in high school and being governed by your parents to transition into college and being governing yourself, is what the Phenomenally You 8S empowerment system really supports young women in doing.
Yeah, and, there's two sides of the coin, isn't there, in that, we get the book smarts, but we don't get the street smarts, like when we get out into the big bad world, it's like, oh my God, how do I deal with all this other stuff that they don't teach me about? But then on the other side, as a parent, particularly as a mother, you're like, oh my God, how do I support her through this, knowing what I know and what I've been through?
Right. And the interesting thing about that is, you now have to start to trust that what you gave her is going to kind of last in those moments. But I think that, she's going to be tested by things that are current that mom didn't have to go through. And so one of the S's that I have in the 8S empowerment system is called social media. So we talk about, mom has her relationship with social media, but the daughter has another, right? And we all know how powerful it is. And we all know that there could be a moment that happens with this young woman that can destroy her life. And is she, conscious of that at all times? And so social media, the S in social media talks about how young women can be cognizant of how to use social media to be a success, not only in college, but in life, but also how social media can also be a downfall. You know what I mean? How you can post the wrong thing and, a recruiter or someone's watching you and it's like, oh, no, that's not the person I want to work with, and say no, So I think it's important that parents definitely still reiterate what they've been teaching their children all along. But this system is only a way to reinforce and also help her to navigate her own world, as she develops as a woman. Like, okay, so do I agree with that? You know what I mean? Or does that feel right for me as a young woman growing up in the world? So I think that this is what supports our parents. It supports them as well.
Yeah. So what inspired you, Lacey, to even begin to help other, women through self-esteem issues and to actually be a powerful woman like yourself?
Well, thank you, Bindi. Wow. So when I was young, so my company is called Sister Sanctuary. And so when I was young, I was very, very heavily influenced by the media. And I had a lot of cultural support. But as a young woman growing up, I grew up in North Philadelphia, So people like Jill Scott, people like Kevin Hart, people like Bill Cosby. This is North Philadelphia area, Jasmine Sullivan, et cetera. My mother was a really powerful figure in my life. And I got some cultural support. However, what I saw in the media said, if you wanted to be a successful woman, it looked like this. And a lot of times it was sexual. It was a sexual kind of, presentation. You need to know how to seduce, as a young person. You know what I mean? This is what I was getting specifically through the music and media, et cetera. And so I would see young women coming after me. Like when I came back from college, I would see young women coming after me with the same struggles with, is this what it's like to be? Should I do this? Do I need to wear this? You know what I mean? Should these men talk to me this way? Should I have greater respect for myself? Should I create all those things that I kind of grappled with as a young woman. And so I created my company, Sister Sanctuary. And the intention was to create a sanctuary for young women to discover, learn, and embrace self-love. That was the intention. And so I would do seminars and workshops and speaking engagements and summits. I have books and things of that sort that would cultivate the environment of self-love for women.
I love it. Absolutely love it. And, in doing that, what kind of change have you seen in the women that you've worked with?
Yeah, great question. So the very first thing I started out doing was I called it an inner beauty party. It was actually a tea party. It was for women. And the structure of the event was really asking those self-reflective questions, right? So, So we would have different conversations about body image and conversations about our relationships with our mother and mother-daughter relationships, father-daughter relationships. So we had these different kind of topics. And so faithful people who came, were really asked those real questions and had a real conversation with other intergenerational women. So they were able to hear, how did I, learn how to love men by being with, not having a relationship with my father? How did I learn how to respect other women with my relationship with my mother? So to answer your question, some of the testimonials I've gotten is that people have chosen healthier partners.
Yeah.
because to me, self-love is the foundation of everything, right? Like it governs how you do everything, relationships and finances, and how where you're going to school and where you're going to live and what you're going to do, because you want to be in alignment with yourself. You want to be in integrity with yourself. And so that's just this one example. But in terms of, Phenomenal You and this young women experience, because again, I've worked with different age ranges and different target markets. I've had young women tell me that, going to college created a lot of anxiety. Mm-hmm. And as you understand, anxiety leads to depression and all these other kind of issues. And so by having a blueprint or having a framework, an 8S framework, young women are able to create healthier patterns within their college experience. So one of the things I talk about in the self-respect S is self-love day. So I say, for self-love day. Now, I talk about self-love day being the 13th of every month, but if it's not able to be that day because, of course, tests and things of that sort, creating a day where you stop everything and you give back to yourself, and really anchoring in that and committing to that. And that simple practice of just stopping and committing to yourself for that one day a month. Now, you could do it once a week, whatever time allows, really create space for healthier engagement. Studies, friends, everything. It just creates space. So you're just not reacting to everything. You now say, I'm going to approach the situation with a lot more balance and peace. So that's some of the testimonials.
Oh my God, Lacey, you are speaking my language. I've adopted self-care Sundays. So it's Sunday here. So today is self-care Sunday. So, awesome. And that can be whatever I want it to be. So right. I completely love that idea of, self-love day, and putting it in the calendar, blocking it out and making it your time. I see so many women who are so burnt out and they don't care about themselves. They're not even connected to themselves. And 100%. And they just don't know what to do with themselves. So it's just, I love what you're doing, and I really, really resonate with that. So thank you for helping women in that respect. It's just amazing.
Thank you for that compliment. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Now tell me about the 8 S's. What are they?
So the 8 S's of Phenomenally You. And let me just give you a little bit of backdrop, and I'll give you the 8 S's. And so it was 3 S's first. So we did a summit, and it was called Phenomenally You, three candid conversations for mothers and daughters in the reality TV era. Mm. And so that my whole background was like media. So it's like always a media focus. So reality TV was huge. Then the Housewives of this and the la 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 la. And so I wanted to create a conversation with the community about, well, how are we defining these 3 S? The first 3. The first 3 was sex, self-respect, and success. Mm. So what does that mean to that? That was the conversation that I wanted to have with mothers and daughters. And these were like teen daughters, young women, you know what I mean, who obviously were consuming this content. And so those are the first 3 S's. And those first 3 S's really created a dialogue that, made us, again, self-reflect on why we're consuming this this content via media. And now the question becomes, how are we processing it? And how are we redefining our culture based on what we're consuming and seeing all these women fight, nitpick, tear each other down, in these fabulous ball gowns, but ripping each other's hair out and backbite. I mean, it was just, you know what I mean? So anyway, so those are the first 3 S's. So that's how the Phenomenally You 3 S came out. So the other S's are, so we got sex. This is not in order, but I'm just giving you the first 3 and then I'm going to tell you the rest. So we got sex, self-respect, success. social media, we have smarts, we have service, we have sisterhood. So sisterhood is a powerful one because I really wanted to edify that the culture that was being, again, I don't even say recreated, but reinforced, because it's always like, women against each other, right? How do we edify sisterhood in this now climate of, competition and turning each other down and saying that, I'm better than you, and, all the stuff that kind of tears us down as women. So the sisterhood S, I love so much. I mean, I love all of the S's because it just talks about really making that a focus as you move about your college experience or life. Like, how can I start to bond with other women to help me, as opposed to, oh, she's not as great as I am, or whatever the case is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and when you think about it, reality TV and social media have so much to answer for. But
Absolutely.
But women particularly aren't taught on what they do with that. Like, it can redefine their culture and how they fit in with others, or how they feel about themselves. So it can completely impact their self-esteem. Like, social media alone, my gosh, let's not even talk about that. That's a whole other podcast. But
100%.
And to your point as well, when women are competing against each other, when we've got that comparisonitis going on, or we're fighting against each other, like we're putting on this front, but then we're fighting against each other. Oh my gosh, I have seen the incredible things women can do when they actually work together and collaborate. Women are the greatest collaborators and innovators on the earth. When we join together, we can change the world.
100%. I mean, we came in changing the world like that. You know what I mean? Like, and I think it's so many things you said that I wanted to make a point to. Let me back up and I'm gonna come up to that. One of the things I wanted to say is that, they had a recent study with Facebook and Instagram. It was like they got grilled about how social media impacts young people. You know what I mean? And how it affects their self-image and their self-esteem and their self-worth. And they were really trying to put them on the hook for the reactions that young people have been getting and being about as they consume and be a part of social media. So it's scientifically proven to have made an impact on our young people and how they think about themselves and their self-esteem 100%. So I want to say that for sure. The other thing I want to say that you mentioned was, the idea of womanhood. So I don't know if you know that the concept of belly dancing. So everybody thinks that belly dance is a sexual thing, it's very sensual and all the above, but belly dancing was a dance for a collective of women. And it was a dance for a collective of women because it was all about creating sisterhood and community around child rearing. You know what I mean? So it was turned into this, sexualized, sensualized thing, even though it is sensual and beautiful. But my point is, the collective of women coming together, and being in community and in sisterhood definitely is what's impactful to our planet. It affects our children and how we raise the children. It affects how we raise, we communicate with each other in our relationships and our jobs. So I just think that the edification of learning how to uplift our greatness as women really benefits the world. It just benefits the world and ourselves.
Yeah. And women can have, not just an impact on the economy and growth, and like when women group together, they can actually make a whole economy grow just by collaborating, like in communities, and they pay that forward. They generally don't create systems for damage or for bad. It's always for good and growth, because we are the mothers of Earth. So we tend to nurture things more than kill them.
Facts.
These are facts that we know.
So edifying and pouring into us, pouring into women, helping women to learn their value and their wholeness, and to not feel small, and to compliment other women. And I mean compliment in terms of presence in terms of how can I be of assistance? How can I help? How can you help me? How can we edify what we're doing together? Like all of that kind of stuff is what the phenomenally used system is about, empowerment system is about, because it really helps young women walk in the world into their adulthood with a framework of empowerment and a framework of, this is how I want to govern my life with integrity.